Okay, so we are gonna get into BMAS number 7. So, I think this would be a good time to explain why I'm doing this. So, the way most people think about Bitcoin is the way I think about YouTube. So, I just think that people say it's 2024 right now. People say it's still a good time to buy Bitcoin. I think it's still a good time to invest in a social presence because um, it's just always going to be a form of currency to be well known. There's always going to be people who are well known and people who are obscure, and the people who are well known are always going to have an advantage um, over the people who are not known. And um, yeah, I think about it the way people think about Bitcoin. Like, if you start now and grow an online presence doing anything, like literally doing anything, um, it should, in time, you will gain some traction. You don't have to keep doing the same thing, but I think it's always good to be building your online presence. Anyway, Um, yeah, so for this one, I'm going to do androgens. I was really curious about androgens because I read something somewhere that estrogen and androgens are like they're like the same thing, but they're like flipped. Like there's some kind of thing where like leftover androgens get converted into estrogen or something like that. So I thought that was really interesting. So I decided to try to become smarter and I'm going to use this topic for today. Anyway, let's get right into it. So we're on Britannica. It says androgen hormone. All right. It says any group of hormones that primarily influence the growth and development of male productive system. Okay. The predominant and most active androgen is testosterone. Okay, it's interesting. So there's interesting. People act like testosterone is the only one. So now this is a very interesting search. Why would I search that? Because the internet is always trying to trick you, right? So if you want to know how to increase androgens, if you're a guy and you're like, how do I increase androgens? Your best bet is to go on the internet and see how to reduce androgens and then do the opposite of that. But anyway, let's get into this list. List of androgens. Okay, I've never heard of any of these. Oh, I've heard of this dihydro. That's DHT, right? And then androstenedione. I'm gonna do research on all of these, but not right now. Androstenediol, androsterone, and epiandrosterone. Wow, that's cool. Didn't know that. Okay. So testosterone is produced in the testes. The other androgens which support functions of testosterone are produced mainly by the adrenal cortex, the outer portion of the adrenal glands, and only in relatively small quantities. Okay, so most of your testosterone is produced in your nuts or the adrenal glands. Okay. Isn't that your kidney? Am I tripping? Okay. Interesting. So Some of your testosterone is produced like in your stomach. Huh. I did not know that. Okay. Let's see. Says in males, the interstitial cells of Leydig, located in the connective tissue surrounding the sperm-producing tubules of the testes, are responsible for the production and secretion of testosterone in male animals that breed only seasonally, such as migratory birds and sheep. Leydig cells are prevalent in testes during the breeding season, but diminish considerably in number during the non-breeding season. Huh. Interesting. When is the non-breeding season? It's probably like winter, I guess. Interesting. The actual secretion of androgens by these cells is controlled by luteinizing hormone from the pituitary gland. Hmm. Luteinizing, I've heard of that before. The adrenal production of androgens is of importance to several physiological processes. Certain adrenal androgens, androstenedione, dehydroepiandrosterone, oh, DHEA, okay, and DHEA sulfate can be converted to testosterone in other tissues. Interesting. Physiological effects in male. Only a very small amount of androgen is secreted before puberty. In both girls and boys, puberty is associated with an increase in adrenal androgen production. This uh, adrenarch, adrenarchy contributes to pubertal maturity, particularly growth of axillary and pubic hair. Androgens also are needed for the development of the male reproductive system. Males that have been castrated prior to adolescence and sexual maturity require injections of testosterone to develop functioning male reproductive organs. Yikes. Androgens given to normal males tend to increase the size of the reproduction or reproductive organs. In contrast, castration performed on males that have already reached maturity causes the organs to shrink and to stop functioning. Uh, Androgens are also necessary for the formation of sperm cells and for the maintenance of sexual interest and behavior. They're talking about ED. Other effects of androgens on the male body are diverse: the growth of pubic hair and of facial and chest hair, and regression of scalp hair or baldness are influenced by androgens. That's why Kratos is bald. During adolescence, androgens lengthen and thicken the male vocal cords, causing voice deepening. I could use some of that. They also enhance bone growth. I could use some of that, and increase the number of thickness of muscle fibers in the male body. Other growth patterns that androgens stimulate are kidney weight and size, and increase of protein in bone tissue, the regeneration of red blood cells, the presence of pigments in the skin, and increased activity of sweat and sebaceous glands. Ew. Um, See, androgen access in women. Women produce about 1/12 as much androgen as men. Androgens are Androgens are essentially essential precursors of estrogen. Androgens are essential precursors of estrogen, and no estrogen can be produced without them. Huh. That's really interesting. That's what I read. They were saying like androgen gets converted into estrogen. Says whether androgen have physiological actions in women is less clear. Some evidence suggests that androgens can contribute to bone growth and libido. Mild androgen excess in women results in excessive hair growth that occurs all over the body, but most noted on the face. With increasing androgen access, menstrual periods become irregular and eventually cease. Yikes. And women are virilized. Um, the manifestations of virilism include frontal balding, deepening of voice, acne, clitoral enlargement, and increased muscle mass. Um, in women, about half of the daily production of androgen comes from the ovaries in the form of testosterone, and less active adren adren. I can't say this, bruh. Adren androstenedione. Androstenedione. Okay. The remainder comes from the adrenal glands, mostly of DHEA and DHEA sulfate, which are converted to androstenedione and testosterone in other tissues. The tissues capable of these conversions include skin, fat, muscle, and brain. Some of these tissues are capable of converting androstenedione to the more potent testosterone. Some of the testosterone produced in this way returns to the circulation to act at distant sites, but high concentrations may accumulate in key local areas, such as hair follicles. Hmm. In women, that's interesting. In women, excess production of androgen can occur as a result of adrenal disorders, ovarian disorders, ingestion or injection of androgens, and perhaps disorders of fat and other non-endocrine tissues. The adrenal causes the excess production of androgens are Cushing syndrome, congenital adrenal hyperplasia, and adrenal tumors. Tumors in the interstitial cells and other cells of the ovaries are a rare cause of androgen excess in women. Hmm. So women who have too much androgens can't like it messes with them. But then with men, it actually grows your reproductive system. Hmm. Looks like it causes diabetes in women. Hmm. Says the conversion of androgens to estrogens in adipose tissue is increased, particularly in obese women, which leads to a small sustained increase in the secretion of luteinizing hormone and to the suppression of ovulation. All right. So let's see. Now we're gonna learn how to increase our androgen levels by learning how to decrease them, and then so it says eat whole foods such as fruit, vegetables, nuts, seeds, grains. No, this is stupid because I guarantee you, if you say how to increase androgens, they're going to tell you to eat fruits. They're going to tell you to eat this exact list of things. Lower androgen levels naturally. They say increase your iron intake. Now let's think about that for a second. So the thing that is synonymous with like like literally the symbol for iron is the male symbol. Why would taking that decrease your, like, this is stupid. That's stupid. I hate when they do that. Okay, so, well, I know the difference now. Um, let's see. It says androgens are made of cholesterol produced in the adrenal gland and the ovaries. Yeah, in women, but only, okay. So they're talking about it in terms of women. Like, they're talking about androgen from the female perspective. That does not make any sense. I know what the difference is here. Testosterone is a type of androgen. So next we're gonna go to, this is apparently the anatomy of an androgen cell. Um, I have no idea what any of this means. I just know the nucleus is like the store of the, that's like the main thing. Um, I guess testosterone gets converted into whatever this is, and then that gets converted into whatever this is, and then I don't know what that looks like, an electrical circuit. I have no idea what that is. All right, let's see here. So I'm gonna go through this slideshow. Um, androgen to male sex hormones. Okay. This is just like a table of content. Okay. Substance that causes development of secondary characteristics in castrated males. Testes are responsible for males' characteristics. Let's see. Uh, spermatogenesis. I'm guessing that's semen production. That's, and for anyone who's like doing like there's like this thing called nofap, which is like you're not supposed to like you're not supposed to ejaculate ever. The reason that's stupid is because if you don't do that ever, you're not gonna know what the quality is. Like, you might like have like an internal problem, and you wouldn't know that because you're not ejaculating, so you don't know that your testes aren't producing enough sperm because you never see it. You feel me? So that's a stupid thing to do. um so the testes produce 5 to 12 milligrams of testosterone a day, and then it also produces dihydrotestosterone. um Then the adrenal cortex produces this other stuff here, dihydroepiandro, epiandro, epian, epiandrosterone, and then androstenedione, and then females testosterone is like a different type, androsterone. Okay, synthetic androgens. Uh, okay. It's produced by cholesterol. Primarily by Leydig cells in testes. Secreted at adult level in the first trimester. Da, da, da. Um, hmm. It's like a rehash, basically. So now they're going to show me what the molecule looks like. I didn't take chemistry, so I don't know what any of this means. Um, all androgens contain a testosterone structures. Testosterone has 19 carbons, and in general, it's a steroidal structure. Okay. See, I don't know what 19 car. I don't know what that means. What any of this means, and it doesn't look like the rest. Okay, here we go. So, um, regulation of secretion. Okay, now you're talking about what? Sperm? Control of testosterone synthesis. Hypothalamus, anterior pituitary gland. Okay. What is this 5A reductase? What is that? Like 5 alpha reductase? I don't like using Wikipedia. Known as a 3 oxo. Okay, now the AI is going to basically read what I was about to read. It's an enzyme involved in steroid metabolism. It plays a crucial role in several metabolic pathways, bile acid biosynthesis, androgen metabolism, and estrogen metabolism. Um, okay, so it converts testosterone into DHT. So then, what is the difference between testosterone and DHT? A specific type of so testosterone is produced in the testes, crucial for sexual development in males, reproductive function, building muscle mass, maintaining bone density, and more. Okay, so this is a derivative to so DHT is a derivative of that and is considered to be more potent. It is formed from testosterone by the enzyme 5 alpha reductase. DHT is involved in the development of male characteristics during puberty and is linked to hair loss. Interesting. So that's not good, right? DHT is a compound that has its origins in testosterone. 5% testosterone is eventually converted into DHT. Okay, so it's 3 times stronger than testosterone. Okay, so DHT pros and cons. And prostate issues. Everything, okay, here we go. So deeper voice, muscle development, and body hair. Okay, so it turns you into like one of those like turns you into a lumberjack basically. DHT is quite literally derived from testosterone. Um, remain detached. Testosterone is active, androgen, muscle tissue, everywhere else. So it's like condensed. It's basically like DHT is like when you when you make like syrup out of like a fruit and you're just like cooking it down and then it's like super like way too sweet. So that's kind of like what DHT is. It makes your hair thin. Again, you'll be so manly. You ha 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 ha. You won't even care. So the impact of DHT is dependent on the type of DHT. Serum DHT, this type that's circulating in your bloodstream, has been shown not to correlate with hair loss. Um, Tissue DHT, the type that's bound to the androgen receptors in your scalp, uh, is what causes it, apparently. So, if, so if you have it in your bloodstream, it doesn't cause it. Hmm. It says men without hair loss have higher DHT. Okay. So this just became all. I guess this is just. I might name this DHT. I was originally. Um, I just wanted to know about androgens, but this is really interesting. Um, Hair loss in both sexes is closely linked to hormonal imbalance. I guess we're good then, because I have hair still somehow. Let's see. It gives you prostate cancer. Yeah, this is something I figured. Like, if it probably just like it like gets rid of your anxiety. You just be like, Rich Piana, just like, oh, I have cancer. They should have cut it out. Let's see. I want to see if there's anything interesting in the rest of this slideshow here. Testosterone makes your bones thicker and longer, apparently. It says acceleration of ear. What is this? Earthropoid. What is that? Hold on. What is this? Oh, red blood cell development. Ugh. Okay, so it makes you create more red blood cells. That's a good thing. Okay. So apparently, if you have testosterone and then it comes in contact with the aromatase, it turns into this thing here, estradiol, and then it turns into an estrogen receptor. So that's really interesting. And then, so this is probably what happens with like gay guys, like guys who are like, you know, they swing the other way. This is probably what happens here. And then if it's just left to just roam free, it turns into an androgen receptor and it increases your bones apparently. And then if it comes in contact with 5 alpha reductase, it turns into DHT and then it makes you really manly. So that's interesting. That's really interesting. Um, yeah, that's really interesting. So both testosterone and DHT activate androgen receptors. Okay, that's basically what you just said. Um, for CYP19 is something I'm about to look into right now. Um, okay, I've heard of aromatase before. I guess that's the that uh I guess that's the scientific term for it. I'll probably do a different video on this, but just really quick, I want to see what this is. It's really interesting that this starts that this starts out as testosterone, then it gets it's like converted. Let's see. Okay, it looks like they don't have an actual. It says the ovaries are the richest source of aromatase. So estradiol is the most potent estrogen. It's synthesized from testosterone. That's so interesting. Estrone can be formed from estradiol, but its major precursor is androstenedione. Hmm. Okay, and then they're gonna get into all this like girly girl stuff. Okay, that's cool. So let me get back to the slideshow. This means nothing to me. I have no idea what any of this means. So we're gonna go back to go here. I should have just downloaded this. Pharmacokinetics. Might end the video here because I don't really care to wait for this slideshow to load. Let's see. Is there anything that I missed? Okay, let's get into this. This might be interesting. Androgen was discovered in 1936. Since then, testosterone and many other anabolic steroids have been successfully synthesized. There would be a 45-year period between the discovery of the first androgen and the scientists locating the androgen receptor in muscle. Due to a lack of knowledge regarding the androgen receptor in muscle, scientists questioned how anabolic steroids worked in muscle tissue for many years. Some would question whether they even worked at all. Androgen receptors are located in muscle and other tissue throughout the body. That's interesting because if you that literally means that growing your muscle makes you more of a man because you have more androgen receptors. So more of your more of it will be converted into testosterone, right? As opposed to what the other thing was, estradiol or whatever. These receptors are activated by when testosterone or DHT binds to them. Okay. Uh, when androgen receptors in muscle are activated, it causes a direct effect on the tissue. Scientists used to believe that other endogenous androgens are present in the human body to saturate androgen receptors. This would mean that taking steroids would be of no benefit for muscle growth. It was also that androgen receptors would downregulate after puberty. So just like with anything else, the amount of receptors present will vary from person to person due to several factors. Muscle mass present, the type of muscle fibers present, the person's activity level can influence androgen receptor density, play a role in how, wait, and a person's activity level can influence androgen receptor density, uh, and play a role in how many androgen receptors are present in a given person. Okay. Okay, so everyone has a different amount of androgen receptors. So people like DK Metcalf probably has like a crap ton, and then like I don't know, like Michael Sarah probably has like way less. Um, all steroids have what is called a binding affinity. A steroid with a greater binding affinity has the ability to bind to receptors at a higher rate. This leads to more androgen receptors being activated, and this is also thought to cause a higher rate of muscle growth. Um, okay, IGF-1, I've heard of that before. Okay, I'm gonna look up what IGF-1 is, and then I'm gonna end this. So, what is IGF-1? Insulin like growth factor 1. Insulin like growth factor 1. That's interesting. You guys already know we don't do Wikipedia over here. So let's see what's the NCBI NLM NIH.gov says about it. Um, so IGF-1 is the principal mediator of growth hormone. Interesting. Plays a crucial role in promoting cell growth and differentiation in childhood and continues to have anabolic effects in adults. IGF-1 is part of a wide network of growth factors, receptors, and binding proteins involved in mediating cellular proliferation, differentiation, and apoptosis. Bioavailability of IGF-1 is affected by insulin-like growth factor binding proteins, which bind to IGF-1 in circulation with an affinity equal to or greater than that of the IGF-1 receptor. I gotta read that again. Bioavailability of IGF-1 is affected by insulin-like growth factor binding proteins, okay, which bind to it in circulation with an affinity equal to or greater than that of the receptor. Okay. The six binding proteins serve as carrier proteins and bind approximately 98 of all circulating IGF-1. There's a bunch of mumbo jumbo jargon right here. Um, IGF-1 is also a popular doping agent in sport. This is probably what they caught Paul Pogba on. It's a popular doping agent in sport and has featured in many high profile doping cases in recent years. This is probably what Usain Bolt's on. However, the existence of IGF binding proteins significantly reduces the levels of immunoreactive IGF-1 in samples, requiring multiple pretreatment steps that reduce is that's not a word. Reproduce that's breaking my brain. Reproducibility. Reproducibility? Why don't they just say ability to reproduce? Okay, here's something. IGF-1 versus. Okay, so they said IGF-1 is the target gene. It's a target gene of androgen receptors. Um, okay, so I guess androgen is what. So IGF-1 is what actually does the work, and androgen is what tells it to do the work. What's the difference between IGF-1 and testosterone? Testosterone significantly increases the production of IGF-1. Whew, all right. Well, the attempt was made, so I'm gonna end the